when a general manager comes out and starts doing the press junket, that's when he's feeling the heat. Because usually a general manager, you don't hear from him. You hear from the general manager before the draft, during the draft, a little bit during free agency, and then it's the head coach's team.
Generally, the 49ers kind of set this deal up differently, though. Like they go week on, week off with who talks with the radio station, for example, that carries the team. So it's 1 week it's Lynch, the next week it's Shanahan, and it goes back and forth. But and I think it seems like they might be doing the same thing with NBC Sportsnet. Yeah, it's unfortunate because there's not a whole lot that he can say right now, or any of these guys can say that really puts them in a good light, and they just keep talking. And I agree with you. It really sounds like the little bits that I've heard from this conversation with Mayoko really makes it sound like he's doing everything he can to make it sound like he's been doing a good job.
Also, yeah, agree. And what's interesting let's talk about Mayoko's coverage for a second. I love Mayoko. I just want to analyze what he's doing, and he's doing a good job. The question he asked John Lynch, big picture questions. Is there a crisis in the organization? People feel there's a crisis. And that's when John Lynch started, rubbing his ear and doing the things he does when he looks like he's anyway. So that's the kind of question Matt asks Lynch. Matt has Kyle every day. We all do in those group interviews. Matt doesn't ask Kyle questions like that. Kyle, I mean, he's asking him about your quarterbacks and the right guard and, day-to-day questions that you would ask a coach. But
sure.
when he has Lynch in front of him, is there a crisis? And Lynch is up there fidgeting. Like, he's up there looking like he's sweating. It looked like it's bad. Almost like a terrible poker player. Like, really? You're going to just wear it all out in your sleeve here? Okay. That's what it looked like. And
yeah,
I don't know. I think we've all kind of said if anything bad happens this year, he's the one that's on the hot seat, not Kyle. Looks like that.
I agree, and it definitely everything about his body language made it look like he feels some pressure. Like there's definitely
no, it's not a crisis. It's not a crisis. Like,
yeah,
not for everyone else, but for me, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and it was the Martin Short character from Saturday Night Live. Yeah. I'm not being defensive. You're being defensive. What do you know? That guy.
Exactly.
It was a rough look.
It was a rough look. I think from now on, John Lynch probably stick to radio interviews because you have some serious tells right now. You have to work on your whole game. Serious tells.
Even his radio interviews are he really got held to the fire last week with the guys over there that were interviewing him, and it was question after question that the answers just didn't add up. It was the Ayuk question. It was the question about, or the response about how Trey Lance, it doesn't feel like it's his team because Jimmy Garoppolo's there. Which is a situation the 49ers set up. Yeah. There's a question about why wasn't Trey Sermon used more often? Well, and the answer is, the plays were in there, but we had decided to use Trey more often, meaning Trey Lance. It was just there was nothing that he said that was positive at all.
Right. So he's out there trying to talk on his own behalf or the team's behalf, and he's not helping in any way. That's rough because I think most people look at him as like a face guy, a voice of the team, not someone who makes huge decisions. And if he can't even get the story straight, that's rough.
Well, they've been doing this now for a few weeks where their stories aren't adding up. We had the story with Jimmy Garoppolo and his injury, whether it was a bruise, a strain, a pull, whatever that was, in his conversation.
And the Ayuk story, I just put up a little tiny article on All 49ers, just showing that the evolution of the narrative, like a quote from Kyle saying, it's just a hamstring, it's nothing. That's the only plus his Sherfield is so great. And then like a couple of days later, Jimmy Garoppolo saying, it's just like one of those fluky things. Like he's a total pro. He's great in practices. It's Brandon Ayuk. He's going to get the ball soon. That's Jimmy Garoppolo on like the 27th of September. And then cut to now, Lynch is like, yeah, he's it's everything you thought it was. It's the doghouse. It's him not being as good as we want. So we were lying. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And that's they're trying to spin their own little narrative, and they're getting themselves caught up in it.
It's not good. It's not good. But it's the kind of stuff that happens in year 5 if you're not winning still. I mean, in year 1 or 2, if you're not winning, you don't have this whole track record of things you said and evidence of contradicting yourself. But once you get this deep, it's hard to keep it going without winning. It just is. It really is. Yeah.
That's it. That's why this is the longest. This is the first time Kyle Shanahan's gone into year 5 anywhere. So we're
going to talk about that at length.
Yeah.
But keep that in mind. It's a little teaser for later. We have a few questions from the generous viewing public. Keldon says Kyle has said it takes a year to learn his system. He truly believes that. That's why we saw what we saw.
Yeah. Right. If that's the case, that's part of the reason why the 49ers are consistently not winning, because the NFL, you're turning your roster over so much. You can't have it where you have to have a system that's so difficult that it takes a guy a year to, that's basically a wash before they can play in your system. If that's the case, you need to change your system.
Yeah, if that's the case, he kind of needs to just be like an offensive coordinator for hire who goes somewhere and has, kind of treads water the first year, maybe does well the second and third years, and then takes it on the next. Maybe that's what he'll do. He'll just be kind of that OC gun for hire who makes a bunch of money, but that's his job.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be. I mean, he's made a bunch of money from the Niners. He could really do whatever he wants. He could be like Dave Chappelle, where you had one little brief stint on TV and it was good. Well, I mean, it didn't last long, but now you've made so much money, you can just spend the rest of your prime just doing stand-up, doing whatever the hell you want to do. Do what you're good at. You know what I'm saying?
Just call in your shot.
Yeah, just do what you want to do. The Niners bankrolled you to do whatever you want to do the rest of your career. Brittany Brown says D-line's attacking our zone schemes differently. The fronts, I notice every team does the same thing now. It's not like you see teams doing what they do. It's like, no, 5-man front, 6-man front, whatever the last team did. We're going to keep doing that. It works.
Yeah, we're gonna force you to have to try to push us around, and you're not going to be able to because you don't have the guys to do it.
That's why the Niners came out passing against the Seahawks. That first drive, it's like, okay, you have 6-man in the line. Well, then we're just going to keep throwing for 8 yards pop. And that's what you kind of have to do, but they couldn't sustain it because Jimmy got hurt or whatever. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, there was the deal with Garoppolo. He was dinged up a little bit. They didn't really try to, they kind of went back. The passing game slowed down. The running game picked up, but they didn't really keep the run game going. It was, yeah.
Johnny Ellis says, does Jimmy Garoppolo just want out of SF? I would if I were him, but I don't know. Did he quit already? I don't think so. I mean, he practiced yesterday. It looks like he's going to play this week, so doesn't look like that. I mean, I'm sure if he wants to get out of SF, then he needs to kind of play his way out, I would imagine, right?
Yeah. If I was him, I'd want to get out of San Francisco, but I don't think you can say he's quit. I think it's the opposite. I think he's continued to work to get himself on the field because I think, like you just said, he knows that he's got to play his way out of here.
Think about it too. I mean, he has a phenomenal contract. It's in his interest to keep that going. He doesn't want to get cut. No way does he want to get. He doesn't want to leave that bad. He wants to leave with this contract, intact. I would too. Are you kidding? I would too. And the agent should be like insane. I'm just saying. Yeah,
no, absolutely. He wants to keep this contract. He's never going to get another contract that's paying him like this. So he wants it.
It'll pay him next year too. You want this. You want this.